What's up, tubers? Tio here, Simplistic Fishing, back at you tonight to start a new lake breakdown series. Had a request that came out for Lake Palo Pinto or Palo Pinto Reservoir. Didn't realize that we had missed that one in Texas. There's only a few lakes that actually we haven't covered already in Texas, and this is one of them. So I wanted to go out and get this breakdown done for you guys. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for it. Here it comes. Let's go. Like we always do, we always go out to the Texas Park and Wildlife fishing page to try and get as much information we can about the lake. Of course, if we're outside of Texas, it gets a little bit tricky. I gotta give kudos to Texas Park and Wildlife. They do an awesome job of doing these pages for us and giving us all this information. So if you're going out and you're going to a lake for the first time, whether it's Palo Pinto or some other lake in Texas, make sure you always go out to the Texas Park and Wildlife page and read about the lake. It gives you so much information. So let's talk about Palo Pinto in this case. The surface area, pretty small lake, 2,399 acres. Maximum depth is about 47 feet, and it was impounded in 1964. We can look at the current lake levels here in a minute if you want to. I'll probably skip over that, but you can definitely go out and do that yourself. Conservation pool is 867 feet. The fluctuation, it says, is 5 feet, but I think what you're gonna see here when we go through this Google Earth site is back in 2014, 2015, it was really dry around here in North Texas and even in West Texas. And you're gonna see that this lake pretty much was like bone dry on the upper end. So it says 1 to 2 feet of normal visibility, and it says the fluctuation is about 5 feet. Definitely more than 5 feet during that year, but visibility looks like it's going to be one of those more darker colored lakes, something like that. Predominant fish species, largemouth bass, white and hybrid bass, channel and flathead catfish, and white crappie. If you come down here and look at angling opportunities, it shows you the largemouth bass is actually fair, catfish, crappie, and then white bass and hybrid are actually poor. So this is more just a bass and a crappie lake. So very interesting. You know, it's also interesting on this because I've never been to Palo Pinto, and when I looked at the Google Earth side, the first thing I thought was there's too much fluctuation in this lake for this to be really good bass fishing. But then, you know, looking at this, it looks like it's fair, and also looking at that southern end, which we're going to talk about in a minute, I think there'll still be some pretty good opportunities in this lake. So, as far as aquatic, I can't even talk today, aquatic vegetation, there is some standing bulrushes. I think we even point some of those out here in a minute as well. Let's look at lake records before we end this thing and switch over to Google Earth. Looking at lake records, largemouth bass, 11.12. That's pretty good. Link, 25 inches. That was caught back in 1992. So clearly no one's been turning anything in. Surely someone's caught something close to that or near that. You know, here recently. Junior anglers, we go down. I don't see any largemouth bass there. So pretty much that's all we got. Let's go ahead and switch back to the page. Go down, look at tips and tactics. You can always look there to see if they talk about anything as far as important on the lake. The only thing here that I really saw was that it did say that it is a peak demand power plant lake. So basically it's only on peak demand. So basically it doesn't keep the water warm enough to really make it a huge difference as far as wintertime fishing. So that's about all we could find on the Texas Park and Wildlife page. Let's switch over now. Let's look at this thing from Google Earth and show you guys what we found. So here we are out on Lake Palo Pinto. You can see over here on the left-hand side, we've got this organized by a couple of different things just based on what I was able to find on the lake. So we've got channels that are over here. Let me uncheck this stuff really quick. We've got channels. So these are all the different channels that I was able to see using the satellite imaging from Google Earth. So we'll talk about that in a minute, but those green lines, those are going to be your channels. So obviously anytime you're bass fishing and you're talking about channels, the main things you're looking at here are anywhere they make big turns or anywhere they come up and they touch stuff like points, they touch humps, where they make big turns, all those things, those are going to be really key areas, and so that's why we mark those creek channels for you because they are creek channels that have been verified via satellite. They are dead accurate. All right, next thing would be cover. So all the different cover that's out here. Obviously, there's not a lot of stuff over here, right? I talked about that, and we'll break it down for you in a minute. But you can see here lots of good stuff around this area, the midsection of the lake and down here on the southern section of the lake. We've also got a lot of different offshore hotspots. So notice they don't show up here, but if I double click them, they're going to show up once we get over here back to the date that I actually imported all these offshore hotspots in. So now I'll pull this back really quick, and you can see them. We will talk about that on the next video, and we'll talk about why we pick those as offshore hotspots. So some pretty good looking offshore stuff on this lake as well. We've also got several different boat ramps to take a look at. You guys have heard me talk about the boat ramp pattern. It's just something that you've got to at least try. I'm telling you, it is worthy of your time. We've also got a lot of rock on this lake too. Rock formations, rock piles, rock ledges, stuff like that. Just all kinds of different stuff to point out. And then different types of structure. And what I mean by that is mainly just creek channel swings. There are 3 or 4 different creek channel swings and a couple different really good points that look like good points from Google Earth, not just from a contours perspective. And then last but not least, we have trees. So if you've never fished around the trees can definitely be a good thing. So you want to find these trees. If you can find the trees and fish around them, typically it's going to put you on some pretty good fish. So let's go ahead and select everything again. We're going to take the offshore stuff off because that's going to be on the next video. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to my view and I'm going to take off this sidebar. So now we've got the full screen here. And what we want to do here is we want to draw the water back to where we can actually start to see some stuff. Right now, if we look at it in 2023, you can see all my waypoints, but you're really like, what the heck? How does he know there's rock there? You know, how does he know there's a creek channel there? Well, if you go up to the history on Google Earth, which is what we're going to do now, we're going to draw this back to 2014, 2015, 2014. I think that's going to be, it's one of those images. 2016 looks pretty good as well. Maybe we can go with the 2016 image. Let's just draw it back just a couple more just to make sure, yeah, it's all the same. So we'll stick with that 2016 image if it gives us to us. Now it's going to be 2015. You never know what Google Earth's going to give you. And what we're going to do is we're going to start, let's just start back here, and we'll work our way up. We'll stay on this side of the bank line. We'll basically just work our way all the way back down. So first thing, obviously, from a creek channel perspective, is you got a pretty good creek that's coming in here. This may be difficult to get back to. There was, if you zoomed in, it looks like there could be some brush and stuff like that. It looks like it could be pretty shallow back here. But you can see if you follow the creek channel, you've got a couple areas over here. You got a couple areas in here where there's some brush. You can see the brush right there. You also got a little bit of brush right there in the corner that I missed the first time. And then as you swing over, this is a perfect spot of what I was talking about earlier. If when you're looking at the creek channels, if you see it swing up against something or touch something, that's a really good area to go and find fish. That's you're typically going to always be able to find some fish in those areas. So right in here on this turn and this creek channel swing, that's going to be a pretty good spot if you can get back in there. Now it does look kind of chocolatey back in here and stuff like that, so I want to put that disclaimer out here. I don't know if this is really a good area to fish in. If it was me and I was fishing this lake, I would probably avoid this whole section. Of course, I wouldn't have every day to fish it, so I'd only have limited time, and if I only had limited time, I'm probably going to cut off right there in the middle and only fish this little southern section. Could be totally wrong. You locals could say, hey, this is actually really good fishing up here, but that's just kind of what I would tend to go to. So let's go ahead, before we jump out there in the main lake though, let's look at some of this other stuff. We got at this dock back here. And if you look outside this dock, it looks like there's some kind of pile here. I don't know if it's a debris pile or if it's a brush pile, but something to check. You've also got another ramp that's back here. You've got a little bit of rock here on the edge of this point that could come into play. They've also got, if you zoom in here, I believe this is what it is, but it looks like they've put a bunch of tires out in front of their docks. So maybe not as much for the bass fishermen guys, but definitely the crappie guys, this could be a good area to go. Bass fishermen, I'm sure there's some bass in here somewhere, and if they are, they could be around those tires as well. Notice how those tires are outside the docks. So all you guys that go up and flip the docks and just work with the docks, don't forget about the stuff outside the docks that the dock owners put out there. It's typically, you know, 50 yards, 25 to 50 yards away from the front of their dock. However far they can cast is usually where you're going to find the good stuff. All right, so let's keep moving up. We talked about this creek channel swing right here. Then we kind of follow the creek channel up, not seeing too much here. You know, you can fish some of these bends. You got a little bit of rock here, a little bit of rock there, but again, I didn't see anything too crazy. Now you do have an intersection that's here, so you may want to scan around here and see if you can find anything. And then again, you know, this is where that creek channel is swinging up against a point, right? So a high percentage area right in here where this creek channel swing is. You've got some brush that's here too that they could relate to. This just looks like it could be a really good area. In fact, probably this entire point, just fishing around the entire point, because if you look up here, if you follow that creek channel around, it makes another turn right here, right in front of this point. Now you're gonna have to get off the point a little bit to get to that turn. That's definitely gonna be a good spot right there and right here. I would say are very high percentage areas. All right, let's keep moving down this bank line, see what else we can find. Just some small stuff, little lay down there, a couple ramps. As you move out here, there are some laydowns that are out here that could have some potential. They're kind of off the beaten path, but they could hold some, you know, a few fish, 2 or 3 fish, something like that. So you always want to check those out, especially if you're just out and you're just scanning around, you're looking for schools of fish. Sometimes they'll relate to stupid stuff like that. So you always want to go look at that. Got some trees down there too, some more laydowns up here. Now this turn, again, looks magical as well. So we already talked about this turn down here, and we talked about this one here. Now we follow this up and we hit this next turn, which I'm actually getting pretty far off this bank, but I got to talk about it because I just like the way it sets up. But look at this one. Creek channel swings right into the back of this hump, but it also has another creek that's coming down on the front. So basically you have an intersection, a creek channel bend and a creek channel swing all at the same time, and a nice little flat that's up here right by it. I mean, this area in here is definitely an area you're going to want to get out, do some graphing on, and see what you can find in this area, because I guarantee there's something up in that spot. All right, let's keep moving down. Got more rock along this bank line, kind of all around this whole bank line. So if you're on that shallow rock pattern, maybe shallow cranking or something like that, that's going to be some good stuff to do there. And also, if you notice this red line is actually an old road. So if you zoom in really closely, you'll notice you can kind of start to see it. You can see a little bit of a fence line or something like that going on right there. But this is the road, and if you follow the road out, it takes you out to these pillars. There's some debris out here, all kinds of good stuff to look at. Now you're probably like, why would I fish this if it's all shallow? Well, totally not shallow. Remember, we're back in 2015. If I move this back up to say 2021 or 2020, all of this stuff is totally underwater. You're gonna have no idea. That brush we were looking at earlier, those trees, that creek channel swing, it's gonna feel like you're way off the bank. But just some really good stuff here. It's cool that this lake went down that far. It's sad that it went down that far, but cool that it did, because it'll expose all this stuff for us. So let's keep moving down here. We already went down here. Let's go down. A couple more ramps down in here, more ramps, just some stuff I wanted you to check out here outside of this dock. This looks, again, like some kind of debris, possibly tires or something like that. The crappie guys that watch this could be a really good crappie spot as well. But bass fishermen, if there's crappie there, there's probably bass somewhere close by. They love to eat them crappie. So I always like to go to these crappie spots. You know, a lot of people will avoid the crappie spots, but I actually go to them and do my bass fishing there. I'm not fishing for the crappie, I'm fishing for the bass that are eating the crappie. All right, so let's keep moving on up. We've got some more ramps in here. A little bit of debris off this point right here, you can see. So this could be interesting. You look at it here and it doesn't look like much, but when you raise the water back up, it actually kind of comes into play and looks like this could be a pretty decent little area to do a little bit of shallow water fishing. Let's go over here and let's look and see what this check thing is, because I totally missed that. Take that back to 2015. We come out here. This looks like it could be maybe an old culvert, maybe. Could just be a couple laydowns. Could be absolutely nothing. Could be a little fishing tractor someone put out there. You never know. So go check that one out. Let's move on up. Let's go up here. Let's see what else we got. We got some more debris that's outside of this dock. A lot of good chunk rock and stuff like that going all the way up this bank line, pretty much all the way around. So just some rock that I've labeled for you there. Now again, watching that creek channel, it's getting really close to this point. And so the dock owner is not going to like me, but I'm going to tell you right now that that's going to be a high percentage dock for sure, just based on where it's setting up. It sets up perfectly. It's somewhat isolated. The closest dock is way over here. It's right off a point. It's got a creek channel coming by it. It's got a lot of good stuff going for it, and it's got a lot of rock around it. Some more rock there. That looks like a huge boulder or something like that. So I marked that for you guys. Now we're kind of following the creek channel along, right? So if I'm fishing the docks, I'm just going to fish that one. I'm not even going to screw with these docks. They look way too shallow. They just, you know, of course, watch these be the money docks in the lake. But to me, those would be too shallow. I'm not going to mess with them. But I'm definitely fishing that one, and I'm fishing it pretty thoroughly. So we're going to go down here and kind of follow the creek channel down as we swing back here where it starts to get us off this shallow spot, just to get a little bit deeper in here. There is a pretty big little brush pile or something. Looks like almost a full laydown of a tree out here. So that would be good. Crappie fishermen keep that in mind as well. We've also got some rock and debris down in here. We've got more laydowns. These pipes, if you've never watched a lake breakdown video with me before, these pipes can be pretty magical places sometimes too. They're totally weird because no one ever fishes them, but I've came up on these pipes before and seen, you know, a school of 4, 5, 10 fish just hanging around these pipes for some reason. So if you can find the pipes, it's always worth at least going over, hitting it with your live scope or hitting it with your side scan or down scan and just seeing if there's any activity around those pipes. I don't know if there's more oxygen around them or what, but the fish are definitely attracted to them. As we move further down here, just ramps, some more laydowns and brush. You can see a laydown there. As I move this up a little bit, got a little brush pile here. Doesn't look like much on Google Earth, but I'm sure when the water's up, that's a pretty decent little brush pile. This is in 2021. It looks like it's got plenty of depth to it. So we'll move that back to 2015. Keep going. Just some more debris and stuff around these docks. These could be some interesting docks to fish as well. It also looks like it gets a little bit deeper in here. Notice that creek channel kind of comes out here. We lost it here, so we're starting to get in a little bit deeper water at least. Also, before I go too much further down, out here on this island, or hump, or whatever you want to call it, as you get out here, just off this tip right here, I notice that something's going on here. There's some kind of debris. It could be a bunch of laydowns, it could be shell, it could be rock, it could be all kinds of different things, but there's something going on right there off the tip of that island. So let's keep moving. We got some more rock here, just isolated little rock pile. That one could be good, shallow water fishing. Another ramp, some more laydowns. Now this is interesting. This is an old pond dam. And the only reason why I know is just because I can just tell by the shape of it. But these pond dams can be really good places to fish in the summertime, especially if you can get some depth on them. So fish on the inside of the pond dam and also fish on the outside of the pond dam on top. Just scan all around it, see what you can find. Those can be some pretty productive little areas. You've also got another laydown right in there. A couple more rocks to look at here. These are some pretty big boulders. Fish love to hang around that. Look at the good shade that those boulders are providing. You got another brush pile down here, some more laydowns. Wanted you to check this. This list looks like some kind of debris. I can't tell what it is, but there's something there for sure. So just wanted you to check that one. And then we're gonna move on. We got another one to check as well. Can't tell what this stuff is, but there's definitely some stuff there. That might not be anything at all. But definitely something to at least look at. Then up here, as we move up a little bit farther, we're starting to get into some pretty bigger rocks again. That's a big old boulder that's just outside of that dock. Up here, we've got some more debris as well. Just outside of this dock, looks like maybe an old dock possibly that's broken down or something like that. We've got trees in here too. Notice these trees that are just, they basically start from this dock to right here. I'm gonna zoom back out, show you where I'm at. So I'm right here at the bottom. But that could be a pretty decent little area just to go check out. Go get a jig or a crankbait or something like that, bounce it off those trees, take the jig and work around the roots of those trees and things like that. That could be a nice little honey hole right there that people just kind of go past. But if those are trees, I think they are, they don't look like dock pillars, they look like trees, that could definitely be a good little area to go check out. So let's keep moving up, see what else we can find. We've got some more rock out here, ramps galore. Some rock out here. Now I like this because most people are going to fish up here, right? They're going to look up here and say, oh, there's nothing here, but really there is. You just got to get a little bit further off the bank line, and out here you've got some pretty good rock. Another thing you might want to look at too is this appears like it could be a potential pond dam. And if it is, this is the old pond right here, and this is the pond dam. This area right in here could be a good little spot. So when you look at this rock right here, just come over here and scan right in here. Just see what you can find right in that area. Some more rock all the way down in there, a nice little rock ledge that comes out. Didn't see too much else back in there. We've got some more ramps, a little bit of rock around these two docks. There is a fish attractor that's out here. someone has put down the water. So I'm sure this dock owner loves it, but there's one right there and there's another one right here. So you got two little fish attractors that are back in here. You've also got a nice little creek channel or a little ditch or something going on back in here. And if you look, it actually touches these three docks. So right here, right here, and right here. So those are going to be three high percentage docks to go fish as well. So let's switch over to the other side. Let's work our way back up. We got more ramps, a little more rock out here around these docks. As you come up here, there's a little secondary point, and off this little secondary point, you got a little bit of rock. And I could see this being a pretty good place, a seasonal type place, but a pretty good place to go find fish, especially when they're in the transitions. We've also got some more rock just along this bank line, a little more ramps, a little more rock too. Here, pretty heavier rock here around these docks. And this is kind of cool too, because you can tell there's a little bit of a channel or something going on right in here. And that rock's right on the edge of that channel, and that's right where those docks are. So those docks are literally setting right on that little rock ledge or whatever that is that we're seeing. As we move a little bit further up, some pretty good rocks that are out here, another good little point. More of those trees too, you're starting to see a little bit more of them here. Those can really be good. Definitely take your time and fish around some of those trees. Some more up here, another ramp. Then we've got some more rock up in here, some debris, all kinds of good stuff up here. And then again, if that tree pattern's working, you got what, 3 or 4 sections where you have these trees. You've got them right here, here. I thought we had some on the other point. I guess that's it. Just these 3 little sections of these trees. And if that is the pattern, that's going to be money, and you've got it right here. You've already got it lined out for you. It's already marked for you. I haven't even talked about it on this video, but if you haven't done it yet, go out and check out our site, simplisticfishing.com. Not only do we have Palo Pinto Reservoir, but we have over 100 different lakes in Texas broken down. Plus we've spread out now. We're in Georgia, Kentucky, North Carolina, Virginia, Oklahoma. We have a ton of lakes, so we're really starting to spread out. Texas is definitely our tried and true where we do a lot of our fishing. We're here from Rockwall, Texas, but more than willing to break down lakes all across the country. But definitely go check us out, simplisticfishing.com. You can get all these waypoints put onto an SD card. You just plug it into your graph, it imports them in, and then when you're out there on the water, if the tree pattern's the thing that's working, boom, you'll know exactly where they are. If rocks are the way that it's going, boom, you know exactly where all the key rock areas are. If it's brush piles, if it's ramps, whatever it is, you can match it up so much faster. It's basically breaking the lake down for you before you even get there. And then when you're on the water, you can make very quick decisions. So go check it out. I'll quit talking, simplisticfishing.com. Let's keep going. All right, so we're up here by the dam. We talked about those trees. We got a little rock pile out here too. This looks really cool. And then we'll move up here. We got some pretty good riprap. I'm sure that gets pounded quite a bit. And then we've got another fish attractor that's out here. You can barely see the top of it. If I zoom in really closely, you can see it. It's right there. You got a fish attractor there and some pretty good chunky rock over in here as well. Now there are some sparkles here, so I don't think those are trees, but I don't see any trees in this area. But if there are, you definitely want to fish them. I think we're good. There's a couple back in here and stuff like that, but that's all that I'm seeing right now. We've also got some ramps here. That is an isolated dock. There's no dock anywhere close to that area, so you're definitely going to fish that dock. Also, the fact that the dock is basically off of the edge of a point, that makes it a primo dock too. So go look at the dock. Sorry, dock owners, for that one. We've got a little bit more rock here, some more rock here. I like this little point that comes out that has this little rock on the edge. They could be anywhere from up here all the way to the inside there, but definitely a good little area to go look. Then we're going to move around. We're getting back out here. Let me zoom back out, show you where I'm at. About right in here now. We're going to try to finish this whole lake tonight if we can. Let's keep moving. We got bigger chunk rocks all through here. Again, that can be a good pattern too. Finding the bigger boulders that are producing that shade. Maybe they're on a certain side of those boulders consistently. So you pull up and maybe they're always on the north side of the rock or the east side or the west side, stuff like that. Those are the types of things you need to look at. Let's keep going up. We've got some more rock that's up here as well. This is kind of the chunkier type rock. We've got some big boulders up here too to take a look at. Excuse me. We've got some additional rock in here too. Another boat ramp that's right in here. And then up in here, it kind of gets sloppy a little bit. You know, you kind of get this chunk rock and stuff like this around these. Nothing really that I could really mark for you. One thing I do notice that I did not mark for you is this right here, this little pipe. This pipe comes all the way out. Goes all the way through here and all the way up here. Fishing around that pipe could be good. So if you're watching this video, I'm sorry I did not put this on the card. So if you already bought the card, my apologies, but hopefully you haven't yet. But when you're up here, when you see that ramp, you're gonna see that pipe. Just follow that pipe out, see what you can find. All right, let's keep going. We got some brush and stuff in here. We've got some more stuff to check. I can't even tell what that is. This is an old road bed that we talked about earlier. That was on the other side when we talked about the pillars and all that being in here. Then we've got some brush that's up here too that you can take a look at right in here. Get in that area. And then this point obviously is going to be a good point to fish around. I just didn't see a lot to be able to mark for you there. There are some trees though right here. And these trees can be productive, so you definitely want to go fish those. And then we started getting into some timber back in here. Obviously there's a lot of timber back in here. There's a nice little creek channel. Wasn't much I could mark for you back in there. I didn't see too much, but I did mark the creek channel. There is some rock right here off the edge of this point where all these intersections happen. So I could see this area of the point being a really good side of the point to fish. As you move up, we're just kind of follow these creek channels and see what else is up here. There's not a ton up here. It looks fairly shallow, but some pretty good rock here off this point. And again, if I move that up to 2021 or even 2018 here, you know, it looks completely different. So let's move this back to 2015 when it was really bad low. Move it back up, you can see the channel out here. Just wasn't a lot of good stuff in the channel, you know what I mean? It wasn't really defined or anything like that. Some pretty good rock up here though, that I could see this being a pretty productive little area. Right in that spot. Got a ramp up here. Here's your creek channels going all the way up there. And then if you go to the left side of this bridge, well, first thing I guess I should talk about right here. These are kind of areas that I think a lot of people overlook. I see them overlooking on my home lake, which is Ray Hubbard. I see them overlook these sections constantly. In fact, I'm a bad person overlooking it too. But if you find the main river channel that's coming into your lake, or even the bigger creek channels, a lot of times they'll run up here to these bridges that you have on these city lakes and stuff like that, and they'll just end. And you'll be like, it just disappeared. You know, and then you've got your main channel over here where it might actually open up and have pillars. This one doesn't have it either. So this is a perfect example. You've got two creek channels coming here, and then they just mysteriously end with no break in the bridge or anything like that. Well, there's still some stuff there. There's some piping and stuff like that that's underwater that we can't see, culverts and stuff like that. Those are primo areas to fish around. If you can find them, they won't be very obvious. They'll be basically, you'll see it on a Navionics map, and it'll just look like the river channel just ends right at the bridge, and you know that that's not possible. So that's definitely an area you want to fish. So here, and then obviously right in here as well, here's an old bridge that used to be here. And you've got some pillars and stuff to fish around as well. So let's follow this down a little bit more. We're almost to the end here. As we get over here, here's the power plant. So you don't think you can fish up in here past these buoys, but you can fish around these points. So you've got a pretty good little point here with some rock. And then this point looks really good. It looks like you got a little bit better depth over here. Obviously the channel follows out through here as well. So this little point right here is going to be the best one of the two, if you ask me. Moving on down, you just got some cool stuff, some big old creek channel turns and stuff like that. But man, you just don't see a lot of rock or anything else out there except for right here. And that is a primo spot. There's the backside of this. The backside of this hump looks awesome. Two creek channel swings running right into the backside of it. Plus you have all that rock. Then as we move over here, another ramp, a little bit of rock over here by these docks. You got to get a little bit further out to be able to get to it, but you'll see it right here. It's right off the edge over there. And then I think we're pretty much wrapping it up. We got two more. I thought we had two more spots back here, but we don't. But one spot I would say, maybe if I'm fishing up here, and again, based on what I've seen, I'm going to start probably right in here and just work this whole bottom half. But if you were fishing up here, maybe look at these couple docks right here that are fairly close to the creek channel. There's a couple there, and then I thought there were a couple way back here that got somewhat close, but apparently I'm thinking wrong. Last but not least, last thing to show you, there's the end of that creek channel. Here's a couple road beds back here too, but honestly guys, I don't think I'd spend too much time back there. It just does not look like the place that they would be. Too much fluctuation, getting probably a little bit too shallow, all that good stuff. So let's So that wraps us up for Palo Pinto Reservoir. I appreciate you guys watching this. Please make sure to go out, check out our website, simplisticfishing.com, where you can pick up all these waypoints. And stay tuned, because I will be back for the offshore hotspots for this lake next week. Have a good one, guys.